Okay. Where did this thought of getting married come from? How young? What year? What went through your mind? How did you feel about his mother's passing? How did you feel about the aunt and uncle? Just all your read on what we've talked about today here.
Okay, well, I obviously I was desperately in love, and so I was not going to give up just because he told me that a doctor's life is not a happy one always. And I we dated for 7 years, so I was ready to get married. Um, and it was his mother's death was very difficult for both of us. It was difficult for me in a lot of ways because I knew his devotion to her. And therefore, I knew it would hit him hard. And the other way that it was difficult was because I wasn't accepted in their family. And so I couldn't grieve as I might have otherwise because I wasn't allowed there. But when we came out to Case Western, Bill pointed out that he needed to maintain his grades in college for medical school, and that's true. But I also had to maintain my grades because I was on a full scholarship, and I had to keep that scholarship in order to keep going to school, because we didn't have the money for the college, and certainly not to live there. When we came out to Case Western, we were living in an apartment that your aunt and uncle found for us, I guess.
It's kind of a slum.
Close, very close to the school, but we didn't have a car. And I found a job teaching in Euclid, which was almost an hour away. So I had to beg, bargain, and steal to get rides to teach.
And that shows up in the printing.
My teaching career at that point only earned $3,000 a year. So I was poorly paid. Bill wasn't paid anything, of course.
But my father did pay tuition.
Yes, that's true.
At
That would have made a
school,
huge difference.
Yeah, it made all that, but it was about what Ardith earned each year. It's only about $3,000. Of course, it was a lot more then, but he fulfilled his obligations to me. So by paying my tuition, and we lived off Ardith's salary.
So I was teaching in Euclid, teaching Spanish. I found a job with my most favorite part, Spanish.
It's probably always true that a marriage changes a relationship. It's probably always true that a marriage changes a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What changed in your relationship when you got?
Only that Bill was head over heels working to become a doctor, and therefore very, very busy, and didn't have a lot of time, nor did we have money to go do things. And whereas when we were dating, we would go out to dinner and go do things, go to theaters and so forth, and we couldn't do that.
1.5 day a week we put aside for me not studying. Like I said, I wasn't the brightest kid on the block, but I knew I had to work to get there.
Yeah. But our most wonderful times were with his aunt and uncle. because they were like parents and they were just delightful. We enjoyed them a lot. So we would go to their house most of the time and celebrate holidays and have dinner with them. We really enjoyed them, and they of course loved Bill, and I learned to love me, and we
But they treated you like family from day one,
a very good relationship.
even before you were married, I guess.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you were very, very much accepted.
Mhm.
Yeah, as Bill has said, they loved him. They knew him. They didn't know me, but they learned to love me
Mhm.
after spending some time.
And the other way around.
Yeah, very definitely. So medical school was a trip. After a year in medical school, we finally got a used car so that I could drive to school, which was huge.
1959 Opel Record.
I know what that car is. That car. They had one that was a hatchback that kind of was a slanted back.
We had
This one
a
wasn't.
two-door sedan.
Those were weird cars in that time period. They were built by wasn't it General Motors in Europe?
Yeah,
But it was a good car.
yeah, a little four-cylinder. We made
Boo.
2 trips across the country in that car.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first summer in medical school, I was responsible as a student. I had to do a project lab, and I ended up working in a virology laboratory with Dr. Melvin Rosenthal, who became a good friend and mentor. So I was working on rhinoviruses, cold viruses. So that's how I spent the first summer. That was for credit and was a requirement. The second summer we had off. So the second summer we planned our our second adventure, because what I didn't tell you is after we were married out of college, then we spent the summer on Martha's Vineyard Island working. We took a job as surrogate parents for a 7-year-old and 2 Dachshunds in a little A-frame house in Edgartown on Martha's Vineyard. His parents both worked in New York City, had their own plane, and on weekends they would fly up, and which would release us then to explore Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, that whole area. So,
And there was an extra car, so we were given a vehicle for the weekend, which was great.
mm-hmm. So it was, it had its its ups and downs. The Dachshunds were fun. The kid was a handful. We were his 14th or 15th set of parents as a 7-year-old. It was not a good situation. But nonetheless, it worked for us. So then, somewhere between the second year med school, I spent in the lab. The second summer, we did a camping trip to the West Coast. We had, $3,000, I think. And this car.
Not that much.
I'm going to go ahead and just shut this down only